Welcome to Wine Plus AI. We're your hosts and wine lovers, Adrie and Seyna. This is the podcast where we break it all down for real people, not the people who are working in the terminal.
Just the truth about AI. What's brilliant, what's broken, and what's straight up ridiculous.
Let's get into it.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Wine Plus AI. This week, we are going for Westworld meets Westminster. So governments are starting to experiment with AI in ways that maybe sound brilliant, but also are slightly terrifying in practice. So we're going to cover everything from AI ministers to deepfake campaigns, which all is happening at the moment. And because, of course, politics and AI are already fizzy, we have a great wine pairing for this one. So
the ASMR.
Love it. Love it. So this episode, we are drinking a Baba Roja by L'Oxarel, which is a ancestral wine that's cloudy, bright, and a little bit wild. The name literally means a red beard, which feels kind of fitting for a conversation about power, identity, and maybe a bit of madness. So let's dive in and see if this brave new world of AI and government is actually genius or just democracy's latest fever dream.
Okay, interesting. I'm looking at the back of this wine and it says the astral connection between man and vineyard is transferred from the land of wine, giving it a unique strength and vitality. I think, and also there's a very angry looking man at the front. I think that's also like kind of embodies perhaps the conversation.
I think so.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah.
All right, let's crack this bad boy.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Tasting ancestral.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm not sure if it tastes like an angry man though.
Bit wild though. Okay. So I feel like that fits.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Let's dive into the first scenario I want to touch on today. So when I was doing the research for this episode, I came across quite a bunch of interesting scenarios. So you might have heard about this, and I also sent you an article about it a few weeks ago, which is Diela. Diela is Albania's newest AI minister, official minister, that was appointed as the Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence. First of all, thoughts on that?
My first thought that pops to my head is I think there was a town in Michigan that elected a dog as their mayor. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about that.
Valid. Very valid.
But like less wholesome. Way less wholesome.
Yes. Bit scary.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that is also scary in its own way.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you're trying to elect a dog. Like, okay.
Yeah, I see that.
The harmless, kind of.
Yeah, it can't do much.
But also, doesn't that like kind of indicate our distrust for government in general these days?
If we think a dog is the best option.
If we think a dog is the best option, and maybe also AI is the best option.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
But, I was going to say AI is uncorruptible, but that's obviously not true.
That is
debatable.
Yeah. And
that's why we're here.
Exactly. And funny that you mentioned that, because the Prime Minister literally said about Diela, and I quote, "Diela can't be bribed, doesn't have cousins, and doesn't sleep."
I mean, that's a very context-specific issue to Albania.
Fair.
Or I mean, a lot of countries. The U.S. included, it appears. There was a man who accepted a bag of $50,000 cash. So, you know,
there is a lot of opportunities for bribes.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So her responsibilities are basically public procurement, contract validation, and creating transparency, whatever that actually may mean.
Is that the typical job of any minister, though?
It is the job. Like there are ministers for like procurement and contracts. Yes. Like contracts.
I think I'm getting less mad about this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's see how you feel about that after the next piece of this.
Okay.
So she has a 3D avatar. And
is it a hot woman? That's sorry. Asking the real questions, it's probably a hot woman.
Yeah, I'm going to let you have a look at that yourself and make your own take on that. But so that's 3D avatar also has spoken in parliament. So basically speaking like an actual lawmaker or an actual minister addressing lawmakers in parliament, and is being rolled out gradually under, they call it, human oversight. And so there are quite a few supporters of Diela who are saying that she's kind of a symbol of like anti-corruption and modernization, whereas a lot of critics are calling it a PR stunt because there is no legal framework in place for a non-human minister who actually takes responsibility if Diela screws up. Because there right now is no accountability really because there are no laws.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you on this, Adrie.
Okay.
So let's say Diela makes a bad decision. Who gets fired?
The maker. Or whoever trains her.
Mm-hmm.
The maker. What? That's also such a creepy thing. Her maker. Yeah, I think probably her maker would get fired. Her maker has to be political because they're also training and putting in the guardrails and checking in. So you actually have a legitimate person behind at least 20% of the work. Let's be honest. It's probably more than 20% of the work. And that person does have cousins.
True.
That person does have interests.
True.
That person is corruptible.
Also true. So, okay, so you would say the person or the team responsible for training her be fired. Yeah, okay. Interesting.
But also, like, who loses? The people, obviously.
That's the thing, right? At the end of the day, if Diela gets fired, there might just be a second Diela.
Yeah, Diela 2. Like, the V2.
V2.
Yeah. Or, like, what does Apple say? Like, Sierra OS?
Yeah, and, like, what stops them from just putting another AI in place at that point?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it didn't work.
And does, like, from my perspective, when I first read this, my thought on it was, okay, I understand wanting to use AI to maybe speed up a few things and streamline a few things, also in a government context, but given that data is also the face of it, and therefore kind of bears the responsibility towards the public.
Yeah.
Are we not just removing responsibility
for sure?
Humans.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right there. And actually my first thought was about the dog. Obviously that's most of my first thoughts. But I think my second thought is that actually they should elect somebody that's not AI, but they are using AI for 80% of their job. But they're the elected face of it. How great is that? Because I also had a question, like who gets paid for Diela? Like clearly ministry jobs get paid, probably not super well, like in every country, but somebody's getting paid or not getting paid. In which case, why don't you have somebody getting paid? They're the face, and then they use AI for 80% of the job.
I would fully agree. I also think that makes a lot more sense because a human is always involved.
But then it doesn't solve the having a cousin being corruptible, that particular pain point.
But given that AI at the end of the day is still trained by a human,
yeah, it's just like it's a circle.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's always going to be a human that is corruptible somewhere in that loop.
Yeah,
realistically speaking.
Okay, so like this is a weird dystopian future situation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make the situation better or worse? And I think it makes it worse.
I also think it makes it worse. Yes,
I think it makes it way worse.
Yes. And I also don't think I would trust an AI minister. What's your take on that? Like if your government or our government in the country we're living in now would be half AI ministers, would you trust it?
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. And I think my first inclination, the first thing that popped into my brain was like, not dogs, by the way, was like, oh, but I don't know it. I haven't met it.
Yeah.
Which is also like, crazy because that's my first inclination as a human, in that like I want to trust something, I want to have a face to it, I want to know it, and I was like I can't trust it, I don't know it, which is also feels a little old-fashioned, feels a little weird. There are lots of things that I don't know that I still trust. Like my bank is completely international. I've never met anyone from that bank. and I'm still putting most of my money with this bank.
Yeah.
Which is, I think there's a societal trust. And I think with the lack of societal trust, I would not trust it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Which is also like groupthink. It's like, oh, a lot of other humans trust this. Oh, I also trust it.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thought, because if we look at another scenario where that trust piece plays a huge role is deepfakes.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. So obviously there is a big rise of deepfakes given the possibilities of AI.
This is so fucking scary to me. This is probably one of the scariest applications of AI.
I think so as well.
Recently.
And especially if you think of it in the context of politics, of course, and elections. It is very, very easy these days to create deepfakes of a official or a candidate saying whatever that may be and whatever fits the agenda of the person creating it, that are, for most eyes, especially if you're maybe not from a younger generation, I'm going to call it, are going to be...
Boomer.
Sorry, didn't want to say that. Are going to be very convincing. Like, if I look at the kind of stuff my mom used to look at on Facebook, or it'd be like, this is clearly fake, and she'd be like, oh, but what if? No.
These are the people who thought the Jurassic Park dinosaurs looked very real.
So, yes, exactly that. So
that's the context.
Yeah.
Sorry, wow, I'm hating too hard.
But so given that AI can basically fake politicians' speeches, how would Notice even know what's real?
So a few thoughts on this one. One is that I think in general, we have failed many generations at this point at being able to critically evaluate what's on the news today, what's real, what's not. And I came from a teaching household. My mom's a teacher. She did a few courses on political science, but also history, English. And I feel like I've also been super lucky to go to schools where we went through courses where you look at both sides. You have to look at really conservative newspapers. You also have to look at very liberal ones. And you have to be able to look at sources and understand the biases. There's a real conversation around this, right? I don't think that happens at every school and in every household.
Definitely not.
And if that's not happening on the most basic scale, these are not people who are actively, optimist in me, these are not people who are actively trying to deceive you.
Yep.
Deepfakes are actively trying to deceive you.
Yes.
They are actively not disclosing the real identity of whoever is delivering that message. And they're also tapping into this, I trust this person who's allegedly telling me giving me this message, and tapping into this very human need of connection and trust within people, as I said before, people that you've physically seen before. Yeah, I don't know where to go from here, in that it's deeply troubling. And if I look at the rise of AI avatars, and this is, I think, a few episodes back, we talked about the fact that I tested out an AI avatar, and what came out was very hyper realistic. If you don't know me,
veneers.
Okay, yeah. Spoiler: if you have not listened to the previous episode, I tried out an AI avatar where it gave me it. I recorded the audio, so it was my voice. So I actually had to say those things. So that's another step, that they're giving it a script and giving it that person's voice, which will be imperfect, I think. But it's getting more and more perfect, which is scary. But the actual image generation or the motion, I don't know what to, the actual video itself is actually scarily accurate, besides the fact that they actually have to make your mouth move. And the intonation is correct. The motion is very good, but they gave me basically veneers, and they made my lower jaw a lot more sculpted, let's just say.
Snatched.
Yeah, snatched. And I think that is already the dawn of something that is deeply troubling. In the previous episode, I called it out for being troubling because it is clearly trained on beauty standards that are very specific to a influencer lifestyle where I look like a health and wellness influencer.
100%.
But in this case, it's way more troubling because it is able to impersonate me, maybe to people who don't know me well.
Yeah.
Let's just say if you know me from LinkedIn or you know me via, you might watch this video and you would say like, that's Adrie for sure. And I think it's not necessarily the politicians that I'm the most scared of, because clearly the politician could come out and say like, hey, sorry, that wasn't me. I don't know who said that. There are other applications that are way crazier and way scarier. But I think it's scarier on a more personal level. Let's just say like I create a deep fake of you and I call your dad with it. And I say, hey, dad, maybe you don't even call him dad. You probably don't.
I do.
Okay. Okay. I was right. In case you're ever going to create a deep fake of dad.
Yeah. Now you know how.
Yeah. Hey, dad. Like I'm running late for something, but like I don't have 500 euros and I just need to make this payment. Would you mind just transferring it to me? And that's crazy.
It's scary.
That's scary.
About it, especially for older generations. Yeah.
I mean, that's like,
call.
Oh, for sure. But a video call, that's like confirmed. If my mom video calls me,
yes,
I know it's her.
Yeah. But you got to check the veneers.
Yeah. Check them in here.
Our usual teeth or something else going on here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the scary part is obviously for voters, a lot of the information that they are receiving during elections, no matter the country, is online, right? There is obviously, depending on where you're living, where you're listening in from, big differences geographically, how like elections kind of go. There's a lot of door-to-door campaigns, also like in the US, for example, but usually for more local elections, right? Yeah. But most people do get most of their info also on candidates and their stance on things in the world online. I mean, they're immediately exposed to the potential of also seeing deepfakes and getting a different understanding of the political opinion, which I think is the scariest part about it, because it just creates a completely false narrative. That's, if you don't know, and if the content isn't labeled, which in those cases where they're actively trying to deceive people, it won't be.
Yeah.
How would you know?
You just don't.
Exactly.
I think you just don't. And I do think that in general, lasting on this one, like I do think in general, we're going to see the rise of the value of, number one, in person. So meeting your candidates in person politically, but also like the value of trusting more in-person events in general. And then also word of mouth.
Yes.
So somebody who has actually seen that person in real life.
And not just a deepfake.
Which is crazy. We're like, internet no longer. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Yeah. Like on one hand, I'm like, yes, let's go. On the other hand, like what it took for us to get there is also a little weird. Yeah.
I think we just took it a bit too far.
Yeah. But I do think you're going to see that.
Yes.
That's my prediction. I don't think that's like anything super wild, but I do think it's a little more out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So as I was doing my research for this episode, I came across one more case I would love to touch on with you, which is the leader Lars experiment.
My dear leader Lars.
Exactly. So basically in Denmark, there was this political party called the Synthetic Party, and they ran in the elections a few years ago with a AI chatbot leader named Leader Lars.
But a chatbot?
Yes, so you could chat with it on Discord. You still can. You can just message it, and it will answer. It understands English, so you can message it. It will respond in Danish, though. So
it will respond in Danish.
It's like great. Exactly. That. Really helpful. Right? Exactly. So basically, it was trained on policies from fringe parties that never got into parliament, because the idea was to represent the 20% of Danes whose voices weren't heard because those parties were in the parliament. So
they have a multi-party system, right?
Yes.
Kind of in general, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So the AI didn't get elected, surprise. But the movement still exists, and they are still basically now focusing on experimenting with AI-assisted policy generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really small example, but I think the kind of question that it raised for me that I would love to get your thoughts on is, do you think AI could ever actually represent a group of people fairly?
Number one, I'm still like just kind of totally caught up by the fact that this chatbot's named Lars. I was managed by a Danish man.
Oh, no way.
Lars. Hope he's listening. And then I also managed a German guy named Lars. So I'm like, there are just Larses all around me.
I should start calling him Leader Lars.
Leader Lars. Leader Lars. Yes. Do I think that AI could accurately represent or do us justice in terms of representing people? I think in a multi-party, and not to get like too political on this, in a multi-party system, I think it's not the worst option. But in that, like, they already have zero to no voice. So you might as well get some headlines for these people with Leader Lars. On the other hand, I think AI, well, your representative should be just that, representative of you as a people. If you think Leader Lars is really representative of you, which he more seems like a amalgamation of opinions,
yes,
and thus doesn't really represent anyone specifically. And also Leader Lars is not motivated, I would imagine.
Yeah, what is his motivation, right?
Yeah. And we're going to get into motives and guardrails and all of these things, just like the Albanian minister, like who actually controls that. Yeah, I don't see that being possible. I see that, like, okay, yeah, it's the same question as the first one, actually, to be honest. It's the same dilemma. It's like, do you trust it? But it's like, is it representative? Would you say that this is, would you believe that? I think we have to determine, are your representatives always the most representative and the best of your people that you put forward to say, like, hey, you're gonna go to bat for my cause, my needs, my requirements.
Now let's say Leader Lars does match your personal beliefs. Well, would you vote for Leader Lars?
Are there alternatives?
People, yes, but they don't necessarily match your beliefs.
But then this is back to the first one, actually. I think it's the same issue as the first one, because it's like, this person is not representative of, do you think that they would serve your needs 100%? And there's always somebody in the background training Leader Lars, presumably. Leader Lars is not going out on his own.
No, he's not.
So again, then there's the puppeteer.
Yeah.
I mean, the puppeteer, the team behind Leader Lars.
Yeah.
And is he corruptible? Maybe.
The people, probably, almost definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna vote for Leader Lars. Sorry,
Lars.
I love all my Larses. Yeah, this is gonna be a no for me.
That's completely fair. I think we've now touched quite some heavy topics that also raise quite some ethical questions. So I quickly also want to touch on the positives of using AI in government. So there's a few examples that are not as dystopian as Leader Lars.
Oh, great.
So for example, in Finland, they've been using AI quite a lot to evaluate or analyze the citizen survey responses to really help shape education policies. That's a good use of AI.
Yeah.
Or for example, Estonia, they're also using AI to assist in drafting legislation.
Where were we? Sorry?
In Estonia.
Estonia.
Yeah. So by, for example, scanning similar laws and evaluating the outcomes of those laws, which is a positive, right? It just helps accelerate the research and also the results of other countries' initiatives. So there is a way, in my opinion, where AI can make democracy more inclusive. Right?
Yeah.
But it does need to be used thoughtfully. And so I think the final question that I would have for you on this front is, do you think that we as society are capable of using AI for good in politics, or will it always get hijacked?
I mean, politics always gets hijacked. So I think like it's just like a new generation of effed up. Like it's like, I don't want to paint this again. I feel like I've said this at least 3 or 4 times on this podcast, but I don't want to paint this picture of like doom and gloom, because I am really positive about AI in general. But I'm not always so positive about people in general and how they use AI. Deepfakes to me are deeply troubling, but it's the same trend as newspapers and understanding what's real news and what's fake news, or what's fake news and what's real. And I think it's human error. And sometimes we discussed human error is beautiful in creativity. The human glue, the messiness of human glue, sticking all of these AI products together is chaotic, but also sometimes messy and cool and weird. In politics, I'm just not sure, because you add power to it. And you add power over multiple people. And that's what's concerning to me.
Yeah. You add power and you remove accountability.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I think to summarize it, basically using AI in politics can be very promising, or also the most dangerous experiment of our times, to put it bluntly.
So an angry man on this bottle basically is probably
a good representation.
Yeah, it's pretty threatening.
Exactly.
We might want to consider it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode.
The Joy Lab. If you haven't heard about it, it's where we put all of our content. If you've listened to many of these episodes, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can end it right here. But if you don't, we're posting the podcast there. We're also developing some new blurbs from our team. These are people who are working with AI day in, day out. They're sharing the weird, the wacky, the things that are working sometimes. And yeah, just generally in this kind of phase of exploring AI. If that's you, thejoylab.ai is for you too. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time. That's it for this week. You know the drill.
Like, subscribe,
and see you next week.
Cheers.